In this video series, I'm going to help you test yourself finding and recognizing the inversion shapes of our fundamental major and minor chords. In this first part, we're just going to focus on chords with only white notes in, which is where you should start. But then we're going to work our way through all of them in a few other videos. The three major chords with only white keys in are C, F, and G, and the three minor chords with only white keys in are D, E, and A. If you're practicing this by yourself, you can also include B diminished if you want. We're going to focus on first inversions first, and then second inversion shapes, and then we'll mix them together at the end. It's good to start practicing these by jumping through the inversions of one chord at a time, or perhaps playing broken chords, but I think it's such a useful thing to also practice finding these positions straight away out of context, which almost mimics real life situations a bit better, without being slowed down by having to go through the sequence first to get there, which is what people get stuck doing sometimes. These are really important and useful positions to play chords in and be able to recognize where notes you're using are coming from. We use them all the time in music, so it's really worth getting them to the point where they just feel really familiar, so you can see them as one shape and not have to think about them too much. There's nothing complicated in this video, it's all nice and simple, really just focusing on finding a note and then creating a couple of different shapes on the white keys starting from that note. If inversions are completely new to you, then they're essentially just the notes from a chord rearranged in another order. I do have a playlist which I'll link to below in the description, which goes through all of the theory and what they really are in a lot more depth. Here we're just obviously focusing on recognizing the shapes on the piano. I recommend checking that out so you get the full picture, and I also have a PDF available too from my website which explains everything and also contains a massive glossary with graphics for all the major and minor chords in their inversions. And lastly, over on my Patreon page, I'm going to be posting extra extended versions of all these videos to help you practice, plus there's more exclusive content on there too. Okay, we're going to start off with just the first inversion shapes first, and before we get into specific chords, we're just going to focus on how that shape appears on the piano first. So that's like this. Whenever we play any of these first inversion shapes of major and minor chords which only have white keys in it, they're always going to look like this. So that is to say that we have the same spacing of white keys. So you can see here to here, we call that a third because it's 1, 2, 3 notes along, and we call that a fourth because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 white notes along. Or you can also spot it by recognizing how many notes are in the gap, if you like. So there's 2 there and there's 1 there. So we arrived at that shape by taking a root position shape to start with. So this is a C major chord, and the root is the note that the chord is named after, and we've just taken that off the bottom and we've replaced it with the next C up. So we've taken it off the bottom and we've put it on the top, and that gives us the same notes of that chord, just in a different order. So it is still the same chord. And we're just going to practice these with our right hand to start with. And we're going to use fingers 1, 2, and 5. That's a good starting point for these shapes. That way, your hand shape, the way that your fingers are spread out, is kind of mimicking the shape that the chord makes. Now, importantly here, the thing to remember is that the name of the chord, the root, is the note on top now. So I like to call these first inversions the top down shapes because the root is on top and then we find the rest of the shape underneath. But to start with, as a warm-up, we're not going to focus on any of the notes we're playing. We're just going to focus on picking a note to start from and then creating that shape. So it doesn't matter which note you start from. If you do start from a B, it won't be a major or a minor chord. It will be a diminished chord. It doesn't matter for the purposes of this exercise at the second. It's just the shape that we're after. So I want you to pick a random note to start from. Put your 5th finger on it. Don't worry about what any of the notes are. Random note. And then think about creating that shape underneath. So the next note down is going to be a 4th away, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the note after that is going to be a 3rd away, 1, 2, 3. And whenever you do that, you've got that same spacing, 2 white notes in the gap here, 1 white note in the gap there. Importantly though, you want to try and eye that up and come down on the notes together. Don't do it like this. So pause the video for just a minute and spend a little bit of time just practicing finding that shape. put your fifth finger on any random white note. Doesn't matter, any note, you can even shut your eyes and do it. And then come down and find that spacing with fingers 1 and 2 underneath. Pick another random note, doesn't matter where it is. Find your fingers on the other 2 notes in that same spacing underneath and come down. So if you end up with that 4th here and that 3rd there, you've played the right thing. So once you've got comfortable with that, the next step is to then just choose specific chords. So all we have to do is think about locating the right starting note. Think about what you do when you find a root position shape. If you wanted to play an F major in just a regular root position, you look for the note F first. That's the instinctive first thing to do. And then you build the shape above that note, just the regular root position shape. So if we wanted to find an F major in first inversion, all you do is you find an F like you normally would. There's an F. And then you start from there and build the first inversion shape below. So I like to call these the top down shapes. Top down. You build the shape underneath the root. If you get used to that shape, your fingers will just fall into place. So if I wanted to find an A minor in first inversion, I find the note A and I build that shape underneath. Just to point out, I keep moving my fingers out the way. It's just so you can see, but when you play it, you should have all your fingers on top like that. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes testing now. I'm going to call out some chord names and I'm going to be saying major or minor because I know they're the ones that only have white keys in, but you actually don't even need to think about that for the purposes of this exercise. You just need to think about the root note and building that shape underneath. So if I call out an A minor, just let the word minor go over your head for this video and just find the note A and build the shape underneath. So I'm going to call out a chord then, you have to find it, and then I'm going to show you the chord on the video and you can check whether you've got it right. If this goes too fast or too slow for you, you can always change back the playback speed on YouTube because there's not a perfect speed that's going to work for everybody watching. Okay, a couple of minutes, here we go. The first chord is a G major in first inversion, G major. It doesn't matter which octave where on the piano you start from. So that's top down from the note G. That's here. So you should have G, D, and B. Okay, the next one is D minor in first inversion. So top down from the note D. That's here, should have D, A, and F. The next one is A minor in first inversion, top down from the note A. That's here, A, E, and C. The next one is C major, first inversion. It's here, C, G, and E. F major, first inversion. It's here, F, C, and A. E minor, first inversion. So that's E on the top, obviously, and then down to B and G. D minor, first inversion, D minor. It's here, D, and then down to A and F. G major, first inversion. That's here, top down from the note G. Just quickly, if this video has been helpful so far, then please click the like button because that's really helpful for the channel. Second inversion shapes then are like this. Now it's kind of back to front to the first inversion shape. We have the bigger gap on the bottom now of a fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have the smaller gap of a third on top, 1, 2, 3. It's just back to front. And now this is a C major chord, this one I'm playing here, and the C's in the middle. So now all of these in second inversion shapes, the root is the middle note. So we're going to find these by playing middle and then around. We're going to locate the root and then build the shape around it. And when you're just playing these on their own, I would use finger 1 on the bottom, 3 in the middle, and then 5 on top. We're going to warm up with the same process. We're going to put our middle finger on any random note, and then we're going to find that shape around it. So pause the video, spend a minute or so just having a quick practice with that, not worrying about any of the notes you're playing or which note you're starting from. Pick a random note. I've got E in this example, but it doesn't matter that it's E. And I want that fourth underneath, and I want the third on top. And then I'm going to eye that up and come down together. Pick another random note. Think about the shape again. Fourth underneath, third on top. So every time I do that, I've now got the 2 white notes in between here, and I've got the 1 white note in between here. We can completely ignore the black keys for this. They don't matter for this video. Okay, so when you've done that, we're now going to spend another couple of minutes testing specific chords. Now, all you really have to think about is locating the right starting note. So if I say play an F major chord, you're just going to locate the note F, put your middle finger on it, and then build that shape around F. If I say play a D minor chord, you locate the note D and then build that shape around D. Again, you don't have to even worry about the major and minor aspect of it for this video because you know that we're only playing the chords with white keys in. Okay, so a couple of minutes on the clock then. So the first one is an A minor in second inversion. So that's the middle around shape from the note A. So you should have this. So A in the middle, C on top, E on the bottom. The next one is F major in second inversion, so middle around the note F. Okay, you should have this, F in the middle obviously, and then A on top, C on the bottom. The next one is E minor in second inversion, so middle around the note E. So E in the middle, G on top, B on the bottom. The next one is D minor second inversion, so middle around the note D. That's here, so D in the middle, F on top, A on the bottom. G major second inversion, middle around the note G. So G in the middle, B on top, D on the bottom. A minor, second inversion, middle around the note A. A in the middle, C on top, E underneath. D minor, second inversion, middle around the note D. That's here, E in the middle, G on top, B underneath, and C major, second inversion. So that's middle around the note C. Got C in the middle, E on top, and G underneath. Now we're going to practice both of them, the first and the second inversions, mixing them up. We're going to do this two ways. Firstly, we're going to find them like we just did, and then we're going to practice recognizing them, recognizing chords that I play after that. So when we mix these up, there's just one extra step to take. It's remembering which inversion has which shape and where that root sits. One extra step. Other than that, it's just the same. So if I call out a first inversion, remember it's the top down shape. Find the note, build the shape underneath, and then you have to remember what the shape is. The big gap is on the top. If I call a second inversion shape, you find the root just like before, and then you build the middle around shape. And remember, this one has the big gap on the bottom. Okay, so starting a few minutes of this. The first chord is G major in second inversion. So that's here. It's the middle around shape, got the big gap on the bottom, small gap on top. G, B, and then D underneath. The next one is E minor in first inversion. Should be here. It's the top down shape. Top down from E, big gap on the top. So E down to B and G. The next one is A minor in first inversion. That's here. Got A on the top down shape, big gap down to E and C. The next one is D minor in second inversion. It's here, middle around shape, middle around D, big gap on the bottom, small gap on top, F above and A below the root. Okay, the next one is E minor in first inversion. E minor. It's here, top down from the note E, down to B, the big gap, and then down to G, the small gap. Okay, C major in second inversion. That's here, middle around the note C. So C and then E above that, and then the big gap on the bottom, G below that. We'll do three more. So first inversion of F major. That's here, top down from the note F, big gap on top, small gap underneath, down to C and then A. E minor in second inversion. It's here, middle around the note E, G on top, B underneath. And then C major in first inversion. Top down from the note C. So we've got C and then G and then E. To finish off then, we're going to mix them again, but now you're going to recognize chords that I'm going to play. I'm going to turn the sound down for this so you don't recognize anything by ear. And all you have to do now is just reverse the process. So you have to spot the shape that I'm making, and that tells you where the root is. So if you see the top down shape, that's going to tell you that the top note is the root, the name of the chord. If you see the middle around shape, then that tells you that the middle note is the root and the main and the name of the chord. So it's all about recognizing these shapes on the keyboard and where they come from, which original chord they come from. Now there's one extra step here. You now have to remember which of those chords should be major or minor. So it's C, F, and G that are major, and it's D, E, and A that are minor. You can, if you forget, you can try and spot the minor third. So if you know where that root is, you can see there to there is the gap of 1.5 whole steps a minor third, so it's a minor chord. But for the purposes of this video, because it's just a small amount of chords, I want you to just try and memorize this, so you don't even have to think about that step. So C, F, and G are major, D, E, and A are minor. Okay, so the first one is this. Spot the shape, that tells you where the root is. Okay, so this one is a G major in second inversion. There's an original G major root position. It's like that D is down here. Here's the next one. Okay, that's a C major in first inversion. So it's the top down shape, which tells you that the root is the top note C. Here's the next one. That is an E minor in first inversion. So the root is on top, it's the top down shape. So it's like it's come from here. There's E minor, so that note is up there. Next one. Okay, that is a D minor in second inversion. It's the middle around shape. So D is in the middle. So there's an original D minor chord. That note is down here. Next one. It's a F major chord in first inversion. It's the top down shape, so the root is on top F. There's an original root position F. It's just that note up there. That is an A minor, so it's a second inversion shape. The middle note is A, so it's like there's an original A minor root position, and that E is underneath here. Okay, we're going to do 3 more. Okay, that is a G major in first inversion. It's the top down shape, so G's on the top. There would be the root position. That note is now up there. 2 more. There's an F major in second inversion. It's the middle around shape. F is in the middle. There's an original F, and that note has come from there. 1 more. That is a D minor in first inversion. So it's the top down shape. D is on the top. There's the original root position shape. So it's just like that note has moved above. I hope that was helpful. Remember to look out for the next video, which is a little bit harder, where we're going to be focusing on chords that have a black key in the middle when they were in root position. And remember to check out, I've got those extended versions of this series over on Patreon to really help you and push you to get comfortable with all these positions.